I started working at Ridgeway High School in upstate New York 3 years ago. It's an old brick building, built sometime in the 1950s, sitting at the edge of a small, quiet town. Most of the classrooms are updated with smart boards and computers now, but the bones of the place still feel ancient: long, echoing hallways, old locker doors that never quite close, and a smell of dust and chalk that never really goes away. My shift runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's a lonely job, but it pays well and lets me work in peace. I do my rounds every hour, checking doors, classrooms, the gym, and the cafeteria. I keep the security cameras up on my monitor in the main office, and every night is usually the same. Nothing happens, just the sound of the old building settling and the hum of the fluorescent lights. Until that one night in October. It started like any other shift. The autumn wind was sharp, rattling the big glass windows near the entrance. I clocked in at 9:58, poured myself a cup of stale coffee, and did my first round through the east wing. Everything was quiet, too quiet. Usually, the motion sensors picked up a rat or two scurrying along the hallway floors, but that night, the lights didn't flicker once. When I got back to the office around 11:30, I noticed something strange on the security feed. One of the classroom lights on the third floor, room 305, was on. That was odd. I was sure I turned it off during my earlier round. I zoomed in on the feed. The door was open a crack, and inside, I thought I saw movement, just a shadow slipping past the window. At first, I assumed it was a teacher who'd forgotten something, or maybe a student who'd sneaked in. But then I remembered, all the teachers' keys had been collected that week for reissuing, and the building was fully locked down. Nobody should have been there. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and headed upstairs. The stairwell lights buzzed weakly as I climbed, flickering with every step. When I reached the third floor, the hall was pitch dark except for the sliver of light spilling from room 305. The sound of my boots echoed too loudly against the linoleum. "Hello?" I called out. "Security? Anyone up here?" No answer. The door to 305 was half open, the light humming softly. I pushed it open with my flashlight raised. The room was empty. Desks neatly arranged, chairs stacked in pairs on top. But the smart board was on, displaying a static blue screen, as if someone had recently unplugged a computer. And on the board, faintly written in dry erase marker, were the words, "You're late." I froze. It wasn't there before. I'd checked that classroom less than an hour ago. My hand tightened on the flashlight. I checked every corner of the room, even the supply closet. Empty. I erased the words, shut off the lights, and locked the door. When I got back downstairs, I tried to laugh it off. Maybe one of the teachers had pulled a prank, or maybe a student had written that earlier and I'd just missed it. Still, I couldn't shake the unease crawling up my spine. At around 1:12 a.m., another light flicked on, this time, the auditorium. Now, the auditorium's a massive room at the back of the school, with heavy velvet curtains and creaky wooden floors. The building crew had been renovating it since the summer, so it was off-limits to everyone, including me. The feed showed a single stage light burning right over the center of the platform. Something, or someone, was standing there. It wasn't clear at first. The camera was grainy, low quality. But I could make out the faint silhouette of a person, tall, still, facing the empty seats. I blinked, and the shape was gone. That's when the office phone rang. The sound nearly made me jump out of my chair. It was the old landline the school kept connected in case of emergencies, but it hadn't rung once in my entire time working there. I picked it up. Ridgeway High, security desk. Silence. Then a faint, distorted voice whispered through the line, "You shouldn't be here after dark." The line went dead. I stood there staring at the receiver, heart hammering. The caller ID just showed a blank, no number, no location. I tried to call my supervisor, but the cell service inside the building was terrible. My call failed twice. I decided to check the auditorium. I know, it was a stupid idea. But I had to make sure no one had broken in. I'd have been in trouble if something happened on my watch. The hallway leading to the auditorium was colder than the rest of the school, like someone had left a door open. My breath fogged in front of me, even though the heating was still on. As I approached, I heard something faint, the slow creak of a piano key being pressed down. Just one note. Again and again. The door to the auditorium was slightly ajar. Light spilled out onto the hallway floor. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The smell hit me first, old wood and something faintly metallic, like rust or blood. The single spotlight on stage glared down, illuminating the grand piano at the center. Its lid was up, and the keys were moving. Softly. Slowly. As if invisible fingers were pressing them one by one. I froze halfway down the aisle. The key stopped. Then, from somewhere up in the balcony seats, a voice said, softly, clearly, "Don't stop the music, Mr. Dalton." My throat went dry. Nobody had called me by my last name. Not here. I didn't even wear a name tag. I swung my flashlight toward the balcony, but it was empty. The beam of light caught only dust motes swirling in the air. Then the spotlight on the stage flickered and went out. The entire room plunged into darkness. I stumbled backward, heart racing, fumbling for the exit. When I turned to leave, something brushed past my shoulder, a cold gust of air that carried the faint scent of old perfume. I didn't wait to see what it was. I bolted out of the auditorium and slammed the door behind me. Back in the office, I tried to calm down. I told myself maybe it was the heating system, or maybe a short in the lights causing the weirdness. But when I looked back at the security monitor, every single camera feed was static. Everyone, except room 305. The light in that classroom was on again. And there was something sitting at one of the desks. It looked like a student, head down, hands folded neatly. I could only see the top of the head, dark hair hanging forward. The timestamp on the camera feed was frozen at 2:07 a.m., though my clock read 2:21. I watched for a full minute, but the image didn't move. Then, suddenly, the student's head lifted. Two hollow, dark eyes stared straight into the camera. The feed cut out. I don't remember running upstairs, but I did. I just remember the echo of my footsteps and the way the air seemed to get thicker with every step. When I reached room 305, the door was wide open. The light was off. I shone my flashlight inside. The room was completely empty, but every desk had been moved, forming a perfect circle in the center of the floor. In the middle of the circle was a single piece of paper. It was a student attendance sheet. The name at the top was mine. And next to it, written in neat cursive, the words, "Present." I dropped the paper and backed out slowly. My radio crackled to life on my shoulder. Static at first, then the same voice from the phone whispered, "Thank you for staying late." I tore the radio off and threw it down the hallway. At that point, I just wanted to get out. I sprinted down the stairs, through the front lobby, and yanked open the main doors. But they didn't move. The electronic lock was engaged. The system only unlocks automatically at 6 a.m. I was trapped inside. I tried every side exit, nothing. I even tried breaking one of the smaller glass panels near the cafeteria, but the security coating held firm. The lights began flickering in the hallways. At first, it was random, one or two at a time, then a pattern started forming, moving toward me, like something walking down the hall, each light going dark as it passed. I ran. I don't even know where I was going. My flashlight flickered and died. I could hear the soft squeak of shoes on the linoleum behind me, slow, steady, unhurried. I ducked into the nearest classroom and locked the door. My breathing was ragged. I crouched under the teacher's desk and tried to stay silent. The footsteps stopped outside the door. Then came the knock. 3 slow knocks. Then a pause. Then another, lighter, like fingernails. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. After a moment, the handle turned, slowly, but the door didn't open. Then, from inside the classroom, behind me, I heard the sound of a chair scraping against the floor. I spun around. One of the student desks had been pulled out from the row. and written on its top, in fresh black marker, were the words, "Sit down, class isn't over." I bolted out of the room. The lights were off again. The entire school felt alive, the hum of electricity, the groan of the pipes, the faint whispers echoing through the vents. Every sound felt deliberate, like the building was breathing around me. When I finally reached the main office again, all the security monitors were on. Every feed showed the same image, me, running through the halls. Except in each one, I wasn't alone. In every frame, a tall figure was walking behind me, sometimes just a shadow, sometimes almost clear, wearing what looked like an old 1970s Ridgeway High uniform. The face was pale, eyes completely black. And then, one by one, each monitor blinked out, until only one remained. Room 305. The camera showed the classroom door slowly creaking open. The figure stepped inside. Then it turned, as if it knew I was watching, and walked straight toward the camera. Its face filled the screen, empty eyes, a smile that stretched too wide. The screen went black. At that exact moment, the power in the entire building shut off. I was plunged into silence and darkness. I don't remember much after that, only that I must have passed out or lost track of time. When I opened my eyes again, sunlight was streaming through the windows. The morning janitor was shaking me awake in the hallway near the main office. He said he'd found me sitting against the wall, mumbling something about attendance. When I checked the office monitors, everything was normal. No recordings from the night before. The system had rebooted at 5:59 a.m., wiping all data like it does every week. I quit that same day. But last week, I got a call from a friend who still works there. He said the new night guard's been hearing things lately, footsteps, whispers, a piano playing faintly around 2 a.m. And when he checked the logs for room 305, he found something strange. Under authorized personnel, my name had reappeared, even though my ID was deactivated months ago.